Yo, 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 welcome back out to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us today for another upload. This upload is the first part of a broader discussion that we had with Michael Killi, someone who we brought onto the show, another person that we've connected with in the Cleveland Browns community on Twitter, the Cleveland sports community on Twitter, and he was really cool. We were so thankful for him to come on and talk Browns with us. And we went for over 80 minutes actually of content, pretty close to an hour and a half. So it was supposed to be a podcast episode, but we decided, Justin and I, that we were going to break it up into smaller individual uploads. So you're going to be seeing a lot of content of Justin and I and Michael over these next coming days, over this whole week. So make sure that if you like the conversation you hear here, then come back for the other parts of the content. And without further ado, I'm going to take you into the video. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. Before we get into this one, as you can see, we do have a special guest. But before we get into the roundtable discussion, clearly about the Cleveland Browns today, as you can see, all of our outfits and what our attire is. Just a quick reminder to make sure that you drop a like down below, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you interact with anything that you really like to hear, or maybe you didn't like to hear in this conversation. But for today, for the Browns roundtable, I would say post week one of the preseason episode, we have our special guest with us, Michael Killi, and today we're bringing him on board. A great guy. Make sure that you follow him on Twitter at Mike Killi. I'm going to be putting up his profile right here. Make sure you follow the Brownie Postgame Twitter page, and make sure you go subscribe over to the Brownie Postgame YouTube channel. I'll be having all of those links in the description. And we just decided to bring him on today. We, as a group, me and Justin, love reaching out to other people in the community. As if you've seen our previous episodes, we've talked to people like Derek from DF Sports, a big avid Browns fan, and we really want to branch out and make this community more of a good place to talk about sports and Browns football in depth. So before we get into some questions, Michael, how are you doing today?
I am doing exceptionally well. I'm happy to be on the show with you guys. Looking forward to watching you guys continue to grow and just continue to build out this beautiful Browns digital online community that we have. So very happy to be on and appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, speaking of growing, very close to 250 subscribers over on the YouTubes. Only about 6 or 7 months into that, but growing at a good pace. We really like what we're seeing. We like the interaction. Justin, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to have another roundtable. I always love being able to bring on other people to talk and go on other people's shows and talk Browns. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, exactly. So before we start, I'm not done with the shameless plugs, but I'm sharing my screen here. You guys, everybody watching this has to be on the lookout. Justin and I are developing I guess it's an extra week now. So we have the full season of our record predictions. This is something that we talked about in the offseason that we wanted to do. Here's a little sneak peek. Here's a little teaser. Every single game of the year, we're going to have a score prediction, our running record prediction, different thoughts on the matchup. In my left-hand column, I have a key player to watch for every week. And in the right side column, Justin's going to have 3 or so keys to the game, what the Browns have to do that week, maybe what the other team is going to do better than the Browns that week. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that. We're going to be releasing that before week 1 of the season. It's going to be a good read, nice little small ebook. We're not English majors in college, and we're not authors either, but we're going to give it a go. And that takes us into the segue of our first topic. And I'm gonna deviate a little bit off of schedule, a little bit off of how I have things set up, but I'm gonna keep the screen sharing going just because I want to drill right down deep into the schedule right away with Michael here. I would like to talk about, and I want Justin's going to chime in as well. Out of the schedule, I think that this is a great topic to talk about. I think that it's something that you hear exclusively in the NFL landscape solely because every game just means so much. And the question to start off the episode is, what game on this schedule is the biggest trap game for the Cleveland Browns this season? Throwing it to Michael first.
Trap game. I think the Bears are making me nervous. I think the Bears, if Justin Fields
Yep.
is as
Yep.
good as I think he can be, and their defense is as good as they can be, I think they're a very good team, and I think they're going to be a little bit underrated going into the season. So I'm concerned about the Bears. I'm concerned a little bit about the Vikings because they're just a sneaky team, and we're playing in a dome. Those are two of them that I'm like, eh. And then probably Arizona as well is another kind of wild card, although we get them at home this time. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, early on, although I will tell you guys, I disagree with your, and I think I'm one of the very few people who thinks we're going to win against Kansas City. And I'll tell you why. I think that if you go back to the playoff game where, we've got guys that were suffering from, still the looming stuff from COVID. Yep. We had injuries. We didn't have Odell out there. And we went with basically for the most part, a JV defense that couldn't stop Chad Henne. And yet we really made it, essentially a one possession game. And if they actually call the penalty on, the helmet to helmet hit against Higgins, who knows which direction that could go. So, and I think the other thing too is the fact that we ended our season there. We have all off season to think about it.
Yep.
And then we go right back to that same place for really what we're looking at, an avenging type situation there. Whereas they lost the Super Bowl. I mean, they had won 2 extra games after that. We were an afterthought.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to take it seriously. I think Pat Mahomes in September is literally unstoppable, but I think that we give him a heck of a game. So I don't think you guys are that far off with your prediction, because I think you guys had it close, but I think Kansas City, I think we have a shot there.
Yeah, if I can cut Jeff off before he starts, I would like if everyone listening here and Michael for your indication, for that little tidbit that we had pulled up earlier, I said that this is a revenge game for the Browns and we're highly motivated. But for the same point that you made about the Chiefs, losing in the Super Bowl, I think they come out super motivated because of that, and they come out and make a statement. Obviously, offensively, they had a very poor game between Kelsey and Hill, and a lot of their wide receivers just dropping passes that Mahomes was kind of, putting away and putting in, the right spots, and guys just couldn't come down with it. I think that this is just such a, the best game that could come out of week 1. Why it's not a primetime game, it eludes me. Yeah. But if I had put this game as a win, which I very much really, really wanted to do, we wouldn't have a loss on the schedule. From what I can remember, I have the prediction being we wouldn't have a loss on the schedule for a very long time, and that just doesn't sit right with me. But I'm right with you. I think it's going to be a heck of a game, and I think it's just going to be so close and a real, tearjerker at the end. But I don't know that we can pull it out on week 1. You know how the Browns have been.
That is true. I mean, the week 1 stats for our Brownies are stifling. Yeah, and I like the contrarian take for that week 1 matchup. I really do, because I am someone who, I wouldn't say I'm against going with the flow of the majority of the Browns fan base, but even if you took like the landscape of the NFL, nobody thinks that we're going to win that game. But I feel like everybody knows the rosters are a lot more comparable than what, maybe the final score or, the final outcome will be. I think that game really has the making to be maybe even as good as the NFL game of the year last year when we lost to the Ravens on that last second Justin Tucker kick. But I just think Andy Reid's too good with having the whole offseason. Like you said, Patty Mahomes is too good in September. And I think that has game of the year potential. But getting to the trap game before I let Justin talk about it. And this is a little bit more sneak peek of what we're doing as far as our full predictions of the season, which I do talk about. I believe that this week 5 Los Angeles Chargers game is easily the biggest trap game on the year. And you might be saying, well, the Chargers, they're in the national media. They're significantly better than last year. Justin Herbert breaks all these rookie records with a bottom tier offensive line, and all they did was make that better. And they're basically retaining everybody who was a key contributor on that team. So it might not be a trap game, but I think it's a game that Browns fans and most of your talking heads in the media think that the Browns should win that game, because I think that our roster is better. I think people know that our roster is better all the way around the ball. But like you said, I think Chicago is a tough game at home, especially if Justin Fields is the starter. I think Minnesota is sneakily good at home. And then you have a quick turnaround from playing in Minnesota. You get a week of practice, and then you're all the way out to the West Coast. Yeah. I do know from covering, other aspects of football that it's more difficult for West Coast teams to come to the East Coast, but it's still the same sentiment. I think that we are lackluster in that game, and I think that could get ugly quickly if we're not, if we're not on our A game, which is going to be difficult to do with back-to-back weeks on the road.
Yeah, and just to add some color to that, I agree that Chargers game is ugh. One of the things that my dad had told me since I was a little kid, we're talking about in the 80s, he always used to tell me, we never travel well to California. Mm-hmm. If it's Oakland or LA or San Diego, we never travel well there. And it's just, we know it, going to LA, going to California, it's just never, or San Francisco, I guess there's even San Francisco. We never travel well to the far West Coast.
Justin knows firsthand about San Francisco.
Yep.
Live.
Yep. Went to that game. Was pretty rowdy to begin that game.
What was the final score of that game?
It was not good. It was like 37 to like 14, maybe. Antonio Callaway, catches a ball in the end zone and then like literally throws it into the hands of the San Francisco 49ers defense. And it was ugly. And it was not, the trip to get to that stadium, not fun. The trip out of that stadium, also not fun. So, but yeah, Jeff and I have talked about that Chargers game, mainly because of the quarterback comparisons there. I think, Jeff was talking about Justin Herbert breaking all those records, one of those records being the one that Baker Mayfield broke with less of a season than Herbert, but nonetheless, 2 very young quarterbacks and, potential future franchise quarterbacks. So I think that's a big game. But for me, the real trap game on here is the Denver Broncos game at home. I think people underestimate how good this team is offensively when they are healthy. I think people know that they're good defensively when they're healthy, but in general, the Broncos kind of scare me because if they figure out what's going on at quarterback, it could be very bad for us, because it could be a game where we go into it and we kind of, play it off as not a big thing. They're coming into our hometown and on a primetime Thursday night game on a short week. I'm kind of worried, because if Drew Lock's out there slinging the ball, I'm not saying I'm a Drew Lock believer or a Teddy Bridgewater. I was a big Teddy Bridgewater believer back in the day, but if Drew Lock plays to his potential with that offense and that defense playing at their top, I think that could be a real game that, it's a lot closer than what Browns fans might think.